On Let's Tip Talk, we have Joel.
Hello.
He is with Lee Sprinkler Drainage and Foundation Watering Preservation.
Correct.
So we're going to learn a little bit about your drainage, what you should be looking for, and some tips today. My first question for you, Joel, what is one mistake or misunderstanding that you see buyers and sellers making in relation to drainage, irrigation, etc.?
Absolutely. So the one mistake that I see, especially in the irrigation, is the term of our irrigation system will water my foundation. The irrigation system only puts such a minimal amount of water on the ground. The root system of the grass is going to take that water. That water is not working for your foundation system.
So just because you have a sprinkler system, that is not necessarily watering your foundation.
Correct. That is watering around your foundation, which is better than nothing. But foundation watering system is an actual system dedicated to the foundation to give it proper moisture so you can get that settling, the elevation. When you start seeing doors stick and change in the summertime, wintertime, that would be something that I would definitely say is a false for irrigation. For drainage, getting your downspouts connected and tied up away from the foundation where water's discharging at least 5 feet away. Anything that's pooling within 5 feet of the foundation, we would call that as problematic.
Pooling, what would you define that as? How long is water standing where it's considered pooling?
Anything longer than 48 to 72 hours would be considered pooling. So
I've had water standing for a week.
You better, let's make a phone call.
Within 5 feet of my house.
Absolutely. The most things that we see all the time is if you didn't have gutters, that area where the water ran off, there's a little cavity or a deposit that has been created. Go out and look if you don't have gutters, and then you'll see where, I can see where that water has started to erode away around that foundation.
And a lot of people think that that's okay.
Correct.
But that we don't want that there ideally, right?
Ideally, no. We would want that water connected to a solid pipe and discharging minimally 5 feet away from the foundation. Ideally, taking it out to the street, discharging through a curb core, something along those lines to get it off the property.
You have to enlighten us on what a curb core is.
Okay, curb core is where we take a diamond plated bore machine and we do a clean cut inside of the core of the curb to where water runs out to the street and then down to the
curb.
Not over the curb. A pop-up is where it has a 90 and it discharges over the top. A curb core is where it comes out the side of the curb onto the street and down to the storm drain. You don't have to worry about it ever sitting on your property.
So what is something that most people believe that's just not true?
Something that I see in the industry that people believe that just isn't true is going to be, does drainage really work? And do I really need to get that drainage off of my property or get that water? Does it really matter?
Is it worth the money?
People say, I'm not spending $5,000, $10,000, $15,000 to get that water away from my house. But in the time being, it may not be an issue now, but 2, 3, 5 years down the line, all of a sudden you have foundation issues and now you're at $20,000 or $40,000 or $50,000 getting piers and foundation done.
So addressing it earlier.
Is going to
be the most cost-effective way to mitigate long-term.
Absolutely. Okay. If you can get a little, there may be a large number up front you put into the ground, but if that is efficient and it gets the water out correctly, then that is going to help with the foundation in the future of that house.
And are you saying that a lot of, the foundation can be addressed if it's early enough on by the water and the direction of the water? Is that where?
Correct. We want to get the water 5 feet away from the foundation. We want to use solid pipe. I have an example to show you of what a corrugated pipe could look like in the ground after many years. 10 years ago, 15 years ago, corrugated pipe, black ADS pipe is what it looks like.
Should we go look at it right now? We
could, yes. That was what everybody used in the day. As of now, solid pipe is the way to go. This is just a cutout of the land. So this was behind a retaining wall. Here's the wall fell. But you can see how it goes up and then back down. And that's due to the earth moving. That's due to that it's over another pipe. This wasn't installed correctly. So as water travels, it's got to go up and then back down. And this is where a resistant point could be caused, a clog, debris. And now your drainage that is working is now technically not working, and all the water is sitting around your foundation because it's not getting out fast enough. And so this is what happens with corrugated pipe.
So this was common how many years ago?
This is probably about 15 years ago.
Yeah.
Within the last 5 to 10 years, we've transitioned to PVC or solid pipe, just so you have that smooth inside and it's like a water slide, so water gets out quickly, debris gets out quickly. There's no clogs or nothing to change the OD inside of that pipe to minimize water getting out.
So what is one tiny change or a tip that can make a big difference and save someone money?
Absolutely. We're going to go to irrigation here. We truly believe in smart irrigation. Smart irrigation is we use a Hunter HydroWise wireless Wi-Fi controller. That controller connects to your internet.
Okay.
You get weather data stations that are nationally acclaimed around your area. You may not know, but your neighbor across the street may have a weather station in their backyard.
And this all plugs into your watering
all
system?
Plugs into the watering system. So it takes that data in your area and says, I've watered or had this much rain this week. I don't need to water because we've hit that limit of what we need.
So what's the benefit of that from the little, the little thing on fences that you see everywhere?
Great question.
That will tag the water.
The difference is that is what you call a rain and freeze sensor versus a smart controller. The rain and freeze sensor is activated when 0.3 of an inch of rain gets inside of that sensor.
Okay.
So on Monday, if it rains 2 inches of rain, yes, it's going to trigger off. But on Tuesday, when it's 85 degrees and it dries up, it's going to trigger to water again. So when Wednesday comes around and it's your watering day, the sensor says, hey, it's time to water. The controller will say, I've had 2 inches of rain. I don't need to rain today. Let's turn it off. And now we've saved a whole run day of water. That's about 2,000 to 3,000, 4,000 gallons of water, depending on where you live or what your system is. That's a water savings right there.
So the smart system is like AI, you would say?
I would more call it Alexa. We're not AI yet, but it's more of Alexa.
Okay.
It's
smart.
It's smart. It's to a 2.4 G. It doesn't run off of 5G, so it's just like your Alexa, your Ring doorbell. But it just takes your data and it saves water. It's about a 50 to 60% savings of water over a calendar year.
Okay.
There's other products like PRS heads, which changes your pressure of your static pressure of your heads to a calculated 40 PSI, which gives us more water, less water loss, less runoff, areas of like that to save water as well with the smart controller as like a
So those
package.
two systems paired together would essentially, over the course of,
we say about 18 to 24 months is where you would get your ROI on the savings.
That's great.
If you have a 12-zone controller, about 18 months is what we've calculated to get your ROI on that controller.
Okay. And then the cost, I'm sure, varies depending on the scope of, the system.
It does, depending on the system. If it's a 6-zone, it's I want to say it's $5.99 to $6.99, all the way up to a 24-zone, which is about $9.99.
But the 18 months for return on that investment is pretty consistent regardless of the scope.
Correct. Okay. Yeah. And that's going to be on your standard 12-zone controllers where you'll see that ROI.
So my last question for you, Joel, is if people can remember one thing from you today, there's a lot of tips you've given us, but like one thing as a priority, what would you want them to remember?
I would say that here in Texas, my number one thing would be water conservation. Water conservation here in Texas is, we've been very blessed here over the last few years because of our weather, but the years past we've been very low. Lakes, stuff like that, and water conservation is the way that we're going to continue to water efficiently, effectively, but also still be conservative of the water for lakes, ponds, nature, stuff like that.
We can't predict the next 5 years.
Cannot predict the next 5 years. Drainage wise, one tip I would say would be is to just be, just understand that everything has to be checked over the time every year. We can't just get stagnant and say, we'll do it next year. We'll do it next year.
It's fine.
Because by the time you blink, 2 or 3 years gone by, and if it's to a point where it can't be fixed, then you have to put more money into it versus being on top of it, just saying, hey, I'm doing my due diligence.
Yes.
Let's just be on top of that versus, let's be proactive versus not doing it at all. So.
Well, and my recommendation is if people ever have a question about whether something's a problem or not a problem, they just call. Because you never know. Just call.
Never know.
I'm not an expert on drainage. I know a little bit, but it's like call. And
call people that you trust. You could call anybody and there's going to be different opinions across the board. Everybody has a different idea. I would say go with the person that you trust, go with recommendations, Google reviews, stuff like that.
Do your research.
Do your due diligence. Call 2 or 3 people because what somebody tells you up front may be different than what somebody else tells you. Yeah. And then you get a perspective and now you could say, I want to do this because I trust this person.
Yes.
And that's where you are going to get your best guidance.
Thank you, Joel.
You're welcome.
Appreciate you.
Thank you.
If anybody has questions, we'll have Joel's contact information. And I always say, if you have questions, just call and ask. So have a good day.
Thank you. Have a good one.